Hey, so I've been doing, slowly transitioning into carnivore diet for the last kind of week now. It's not been perfect so far, but I do feel much improved. So yeah, I just thought I'd kind of talk about where I am right now, how I got here, and where I hope to go, where I want to be. So right now I'm almost 35. I've got 5 children. One is not with us anymore. We lost him when he was 20 weeks old. So that happened not that long ago. We're coming up to, it was in December, but my brain is so foggy at the moment. I have been, so I've had obviously quite a few pregnancies. I had my first baby when I was 28 and now I'm almost 35, so it's 7 years. 7 years of basically being pregnant or having babies, so that's a lot for my body to go through. Amazing that other people go through that as well. I never thought that I would. I never thought that I'd even be able to do it. Not that, I'm really lucky that I haven't had fertility issues. I've had miscarriages, which have been really rough and difficult. But I think it was more kind of, I never saw myself as like maternal. So, but here we are. And when I had my 3rd son, so I should really have written this down, like in terms of years, but he's like 2 and will be 3 in like 6 months, so he's like 2.5. So I suppose 2.5 years ago, I was at my absolute lowest point. I had postnatal depression and was actively thinking of suicide. I'd actually planned what I was going to do, and was admitted to a mother and baby unit. That really woke me up, because I realised, like, I don't want this. Not that postnatal depression is very complicated, and but I was at a point where I just was, the world was just getting sort of smaller and smaller, and I was just shutting everything out, and I just felt really out of control with it. So fast forward to now, our youngest son is 5 months old, and so I'm around the kind of same time as when I was having the really, really worst postnatal depression. I do have some periods of time where I am really low, but I'm thankfully able, with the experience, with the therapy that I've had EMDR therapy. I can talk about that in a different video, but that's been really helpful. But also just working on myself really slowly, just taking one step at a time and being very thoughtful, mindful, kind, just my own best friend. Thinking of having a bit of a buffer, a bit of a a bit of friction where I can think, okay, I need to take a breath. I need to, sometimes when I'm feeling really overwhelmed, I will fill up a sink full of cold water and put my face in it, and that really helps. So I'm kind of getting off point here, going down the postnatal depression route, but so yeah, and postnatal depression as well can make you feel really shitty about yourself. But going back to sort of my earliest memory of like feeling different, feeling like I didn't fit in or I wasn't the same as everybody else, and that my weight, my body, the fat that I had on my body was an issue. That came from the outside world, and then I started noticing it myself, on myself, and have always, even at my most slim, lowest weight as a teenager, I've always felt inferior, worthless. I've you know, obviously experienced joy and happiness and sadness and all those things, but I didn't know how to process emotions. I didn't, and a lot of it as well, I was very kind of inward, introverted. Not that introverted is a bad thing. I think it's a wonderful thing, and I think if you know that about yourself, like I really enjoy being indoors as much as I like being outdoors. I like to curl up with a book, have a cup of tea. I love it when it rains because I think, oh, you know, it just feels cozy. But I also now slowly have built up this appreciation and space to go and play outside. And that was something that I, from as far back as I can remember, even as a little child, a young child, I was always a bit fearful of being outside. I think that's probably got a lot to do with having a phobia of butterflies. Again, that kind of manifested itself, and I still have to work on that today. But again, I'm in a much better place with that. So yeah, I just remember, you know, like going to a friend's birthday party as like a 5-year-old and being, you know, having to wear something that was 2 or 3 sizes bigger than my age, being aware of like the numbers and all of that. And then when you sit down and you notice that your legs are bigger than your friend's legs and their friend, and it was just stuff like that. And then and now I realise as well, like I didn't really feel safe in my own body. I didn't feel safe because of the way that other people would talk to me and treat me. I remember one classmate when I was about 10 saying that you would be so pretty if you just lost all the fat that was on you. And that made me feel terrible because I thought, but again, you know, it's that thing of I was a sensitive, and still am, like a sensitive soul and a people pleaser, and just wanted to avoid conflict. I didn't have any clue about boundaries or anything like that. So all these things, you mix them all up, and it's not great for self-esteem. It's not great for your mental health. It's not great for body image. So yeah, went through, I think by the age of 11, I was 11 stone. I remember family members making comments about how fat I was, how chubby I was, and feeling really like I was disappointed in myself. I felt disgusted with myself. I felt like no one's going to love me, nobody does love me, just all these, you know, like negative things that an 11-year-old shouldn't be, or at least, I mean, you can have bad thoughts and like feel shit and feel down and stuff like that, but to be constantly bombarded by it, and then me then telling myself, yeah, that is true, that's absolutely true, what they're saying is true, is just, I just want to I wish I could go back in time and say, hey, there is nothing wrong with you. You know, yeah, you are, the facts are you're 11 stone and you're 11, but that's not morally wrong. Like, you constantly surrounded by ultra processed food, your emotions are all over the place. It's just again a really, this kind of cauldron full of like all the stuff that's feeding off each other, and then you get into those cycles that are really hard to break, because you just can't see the wood for the trees. You feel trapped, and you don't even realise that at the time. As an 11-year-old, you don't even realise. I was a very bright kid, and like I knew kind of, I felt like a lot of people, especially like at school and stuff, would see that, but again, it's like people couldn't see past the fatness. Again, now I know that you can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. So you can start branching out by talking to people who aren't obsessed with the size of their clothes and all of that. So yeah, and then I think was the summer of when I was about 14, so like year 9 or something in school. I think I was sort of like I don't know, a size 16. Again, bigger than most of my friends. There was probably only like a handful of people who were my size and bigger, and we were all made to feel like shit, like there's something wrong with us, blah blah blah. And I don't know, I don't really remember what kind of happened. I know that summer when I went back in the September, people started saying, you know, well, you look like you've lost a bit of weight. I think at that point I was maybe like 2 dress sizes smaller, so like a 12 or something. I still felt fat, I still felt big. I know obviously now that that is just ridiculous to feel that way, but again, it's valid because that's how I felt, and I didn't really have anyone that I could talk to really, because even just again, like all these things that generations before us have been told, it's the same stuff. It's that oh, you shouldn't get too fat, you shouldn't get this, you know, you should eat less, don't you know, all these things that we're told. Anyway, so that was probably my smallest, was as a teenager, so I was probably like a size 12, and then slowly depression got worse, and by the time I started university, so I was like 18, I was getting on for like a size 18 and then size 20, and then I sort of stayed that size, that weight, for probably quite a long time actually, like 10 years or so. I remember feeling really ashamed telling my husband that I was, when I was trying to kind of lose weight for fitting in my wedding dress, which again is just another thing that we're told, oh, buy a wedding dress that's 3 sizes too small and just squeeze into it and like starve yourself and all this. I remember telling him I'm 16 stone, and I felt so ashamed and embarrassed about that. And so since then, I feel like I've been constantly, even since I was a kid, like constantly on a diet, thinking about food, worrying about my size, feeling like shit, not feeling, just feeling so discontent, like I can't concentrate on anything because I've got this niggling all the time that I'm not worthy, because I'm fat, and I started to believe that. I then got to a point where I started working more on my mental health. That's helped me massively, and now as I say, I'm nearly 35 now, and I have sort of stayed the same weight for quite a while. My pregnancies, I kind of stayed the same weight, gained very minimally on those, even though I was eating a lot of carbs, but then also had HG, and it was just the nausea sickness. It was but yeah, now I feel like I can do this. I want to be here. A couple of weeks ago, I think it was, I acknowledged the fact that I've got really intense chronic knee pain, especially in my left knee, and did some research on that. The fact that, I can't remember what the facts are, but it's something like when you're X amount, of pounds, stone overweight, it's much more than that on your joints. So this isn't to shame anybody. I completely empathize and know what it's like to be in the position of that you wish you hadn't woken up in the mornings. You start getting tired in the evening, and there is such a dark cloud over you all the time that you feel so worthless that you mostly just don't want to wake up the next day. And please know that it is hard, but you are absolutely 100% more worth fighting for. Your life is the most precious thing, and it is not easy, but it's absolutely worth putting in the effort. You deserve that. It's not your fault. I think as well it's important to not victimize yourself as well. Like, I used to be like, oh, it's not fair, all this, I feel this has happened to me, that's happened, it's not my fault. But then you get into that kind of cycle, and I think acknowledging, shit's happened, that's not okay and it's not fair, but I'm not going to let that have power over me. I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to fight, and I'm going to I'm showing up. And so carnivore it is. And I've been doing it for, again, only like a week now, and I feel much better, even though I'm starting to get like the kind of flu type symptoms, but I feel more energized and more satiated, and so much less bothered about food. Like, it's that when you're constantly on a diet and like it's low fat, and you so hungry all the time, and all you can think about is food. And also I have binge eating disorder, so and again, that's only something that I've recently talked about and like shared with anybody, like shared with, you know, really, really close members of my family, because I felt so ashamed. I felt so guilty and like awful about it. And I think, again, when you work on your mental health as well, it kind of opens up more of a safe space to share things that you know that have been plaguing you for so long. So I hope you know that you are wonderful, and I don't need to tell you that. You need to tell yourself that, because it's true. It doesn't matter what has happened in the past, that has no bearing on the fact that you're wonderful. So we all have our demons. We've all got past things that we wish hadn't have happened, or we've all got traumas, and you know, all of that. I think acknowledging it and validating those feelings is huge, and we should all be doing it, because we're all human beings and we all have feelings, we all have emotions. It's totally normal. And I think when we try and suppress them and try and run away from them and don't acknowledge them, that's when things get in a real pickle. So but just know that even on the absolute most darkest day, where you feel like everything's hopeless, that the strength isn't for you to find out there, it's in you, in here, all the time. Okay, so I hope you'll stick around and like see how the journey's going. And if you're starting one too, or you're on one, I'd love to get to know you. You can leave me a comment, and give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to get updates. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.